Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
Is bullying just kid stuff? I think our generation always thought that it was. We grew up knowing about bullies and knowing about bullying, and I think it took until this generation or the millennials before we realized that bullying isn't just kid stuff, that there's much harm that comes, that children actually commit suicide younger and younger ages because of bullying. And I want to know, what do we do? How do we stop it? Do we just dismiss it as saying, oh, everybody has to go through this? Or should we start to look at it as a serious problem? Because bullied children grow up either to be bullies themselves or with other problems. Not only that, we've had a whole administration over the last 4 years that has embraced bullying as if that is the proper way for a grown up to act. So, what do you do? When my daughter was younger, she was, for most of her growing up years, her formative years, one of maybe one or two children of color in her private Catholic school. And I worried about the bullying. And even though she was never the target, there came a time once when one of her friends was. And she came to me because she was very upset about it. And I talked to the principal, and I also talked to the parents of this child, because Sarah wanted to be the support system for this child who was being bullied by another group of girls. And I applauded Sarah because Sarah's one of those people who always stands up for her friends. And I think what we need more are teaching children to be allies to those who are being bullied. But like I said, we've all had those things happen to us. So, sisters, what did you do when this happened to your kid, or did it?
There are a couple of things that I can respond to in that question. I remember when I was probably in second grade, 1A or 1B, and there was this girl named Loretta who used to come up behind me in line and threaten that she was going to beat me up every day after school. This went on for a number of days. I would step out of line, tell Miss Gill, my teacher, that Loretta was going to beat me up, and Miss Gill would walk me out another door and I would run home. So after this had happened for a number of days, the teacher herself confronted Loretta, told Loretta she needed to stop saying that to me. Nothing better happened to me or it was going to be too bad for her. And so after that, I wasn't bullied by this little girl anymore. Now, another situation happened when I was doing an article actually on bullying. And I was talking to one of my colleagues up in the rafters. Our kids were taking swim class, and she was telling me how her sons, because they were Jewish, were being bullied at school. Other kids were snatching off their yarmulkes, calling them all kind of racial slurs. She went to the administration about it, and they just tried to laugh it off and say, oh, this is just kid stuff. And she got really angry, and she actually threatened to go to the news media of this anti-Jewish bullying that was going on in her school, and the administration was doing nothing about it. And it was only when she threatened to go to the news media with this story that they stepped in to do something about it. Now, in my neighborhood where my kids grew up, they had gone to a private school for a number of years, and then we moved and we're in a different kind of environment. Our kids went to a public school, and the parents themselves had initiated, it wasn't called anti-bullying, it was called like Friends of Mary Gage Peterson School. and they would actually work as patrol people, all of these different moms who either work from home or were taking time off from regular professional jobs, to actually police the playground area, intervene if they saw any kind of mess going on, but they were really like a safety net to keep kids from being bullied. Now, in another incident, I had a friend who actually confronted these boys who were bullying his son and said, "You better not mess with him anymore, or you're going to have to deal with me and you will be really sorry." So that's when these kids backed off. And I have to say, a lot of this is important for parents to step in. I actually saw a bumper sticker, and I am not lying. I saw a bumper sticker that said, "My kid beat up your honor student." And I
Yeah.
thought, what kind of parent has that kind of mindset?
The bully
That's-
parent.
That's a very common.
I've seen that when you have
Bumper
my child is an honor student, and then like you said, my child beat up your honor student. How pitiful is that? But that just lets you know. Yeah, was it as the tree bends, so bends the tree twigs or whatever. So you do have parents that are low self-esteem, mad because they weren't smart in school, resentful of the smart children, and probably bullied them. Now, I had some very severe bullying experiences, specifically the year that I was skipped from 3rd to 5th grade. And that also, I think I mentioned it, the year I turned very dark. And, I played outside in the summer, so I was dark, I was young. I was smart, because I knew all the answers and everything, and I would always raise my hand. And so there was a group of girls that bullied me that entire 5th grade and 6th grade. And the 5th grade teacher, she always had alcohol on her breath. She was not there. I mean, emotional support was none. She wasn't paying attention. And this is one of the reasons why I was so active in my daughter's school. I wanted to be present, and that was a good school, Bet Shabazz International Charter School. It was a very parent involved school, which I think helped cut down on incidences of bullying, because your parents were there watching, and your parents knew all the children, and children knew all the parents. So that really provided a safety net for the children in that environment. But there were instances of bullying that we dealt with. But when I was in Whistler, there was a fight every day after school, number one. And in my particular case, because these 6 girls wanted to bully me, one of them, a situation came up. And if you're still alive and you're watching this, you know who you are.
I remember.
Yes. Now, she was left, the teacher when the teacher would leave the class, she would leave a student in charge. So she left this girl in charge, and they didn't like me. They were mad because I would always raise my hand and get the answer, and then she thinks she's smart. So they were just watching me to wait any little thing I did. So I think somebody told a joke or something, I laughed a little bit. So they wrote my name down on the list. And so as soon as the teacher came back, and she said she was talking. And so, I'm angry because, I'm getting in trouble because the teacher said, I ain't no talking. So whatever the punishment, I don't remember what it was. But the whole idea was that they lied on me out of resentment, jealousy, whatever it was, just picking on me. And so I was mad. So I confronted the girl after school, and I can't remember how the fight started. Usually, when you're arguing, somebody pushes one into the other.
Into the other, yeah.
Instigators.
Yeah, so someone pushed us together, and then we're fighting. So anyway, I got suspended, and I think she didn't. And so our parents came up to school and confronted the principal. They talked, they had a meeting with the vice principal. And they first of all explained, you should not have had children watching the classroom when the teacher leaves. Why did that happen? And number 2, why did the other child not get suspended as well? She also fought. So, I think what ended up happening, we both got a day suspension or something, but they didn't do that with putting children in charge of the classroom anymore. That was a practice that was ended. But I remember, and then the vice principal, he went and had a talk with all 6 of those girls that had been bullying me. So that happened. So your parents really have to advocate for you. I remember when Zakia was in high school, she was reading this book. There was a class assignment, this book, Stop Laughing at Me. I can't remember the author.
Yes.
But you know
And
that
my girls actually met the
yeah,
author.
she came.
That was an excellent book. Excellent.
Yeah. But I was mad at that girl's parents because they let her get bullied and they did nothing. I was so angry at her parents. I'm thinking
They didn't believe her.
Child's coming
They thought she was having mental problems.
Yes, and they let her get bullied. And I was just so angry at them because you have to have adults who will step in and you have to have teachers who will step in. And when all the adults ignore it like it's not happening, or they say things like, oh, children will be children, they're actually part of the problem. Because now I remember
they're a big part of the problem, and that's
they
why
allow it to happen.
Suicide when children are 9, 10
Yes.
years old, before puberty, they are hanging themselves in closets, and they're finding their parents' guns or something, but they're killing themselves.
Yes.
These are
or going into a classroom and shooting up other students.
Yes, when they get to high school.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's all because adults did not step in and intervene. Now, I had an incident. What grade was that? I think it was 6th grade. I was teaching the 6th grade class because I was like the resident substitute at Betty Shabazz when Zakia was going there. And then after she graduated, I was still, kind of in the system and teaching and so forth. But I used to do innovative things because I didn't believe in just suspending children for fighting, because that was the policy. You fight, you get suspended. And I knew there was this one boy that they kind of picked on a bit. And so he got into a fight and he threw a chair at a student. And so it was a big, all right, throw a chair. So now the procedure was he was supposed to be suspended. But what I wanted to do was have a lesson in, I guess, civics or whatever it was. So we had a trial, and I had some students I assigned to be the jury who hadn't really seen what happened. Some I, assigned to be the witnesses who saw it. And then there was one student that was, lawyer and for the defense, lawyer for the prosecutor. Anyway, and then I was the judge. And so we had the whole thing we set up as a courtroom. And it turned out, according to the testimony, that he had been provoked by some students. Mm-hmm. And that's what started the fight. So the jury went out and delivered. I'm trying to remember what happened. I think they found him not guilty. Something happened.
By reasoning of provocation.
Yeah, I think they found him not guilty. But then afterwards, the principal was upset with me and said, no, the procedure is that we are suspended. Because my rule was, if he's found not guilty, he doesn't get suspended. If he's found guilty, he gets suspended. And I think they found him not guilty. And so I didn't write out the suspension papers. And somehow I got back to the principal and she's like, no, you're supposed to suspend him because that's the rule. And I understand that, but I'm trying to teach, number one. And number two, there has to be some justice. If you know that a child is bullied and picked on and you let it happen and then you blame them when they respond, because, I did the same thing. I responded to being bullied and then got punished for responding to the bullying when the adult should have stepped in and stopped the bullying.
Yes.
Yes. So those are the kinds of things that I think we have to be responsible as adults when we see it in children. And when we know our child is a bully, we have to step in and not make excuses for, oh, they're just a tough guy or whatever. No, your child's a bully. So these are things that can be, like you say, scarring for life. People commit suicide. We've had I think somebody committed suicide on Facebook one year, a couple of years ago. It was horrifying. I didn't watch it. I don't even know how Facebook let it be on there, but it happened. It was a child, had been bullied. And so all these things that are happening, people see something. They say when you see something, say something. If you see a child being bullied, don't just sit there and watch and just, oh, well, children will be children. Because nowadays, like you say, children go home and get a gun and they come back and shoot up people. And that's what has been happening. And it's happening because adults didn't step in and stop the fighting, stop the bullying in the beginning.
Well, one of the things that when they have done now, because before, it used to be the thing is that, you would have a bully who would pick on one kid and everybody else, either you have the friends of the bully who are like the hangers on, or you have the other ones who are cowering because they don't want to be
the next target
like this, because they don't want to be the target. What they've started to do is to engage those children to say, don't just be a bystander.
Right.
we're not in, and I'm going to quote somebody's book, so I got to give her name is Linda Sarsour. And I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Sarsour.
Mm.
It's her name. She's a Palestinian American who does a lot of activism work, and she's amazing. If you get her book is called "We Are Not Here to Be Bystanders," and that's the thing, is that we have to stop, letting people just stand by and watch these things. So they're trying to engage children to say, if you see something, say something. If you see something. And I remember, and I won't say any names about who these people are.
They're still alive.
But,
We know y'all.
but it was like 3 girls, and they were bullied, and they were just, they were doing this thing where they would just kind of roll into me. It was on recess. And at the time, girls used to sit around and they used to play marbles. Well, I didn't play marbles, but they were all sitting around playing marbles. So I was standing near there watching, and this other group of girls kept bumping into me on purpose. So first they start saying, Cheryl, will you stop, moving into us? Can you move away? And then finally one of the girls looked up and said, are they bullying you? And I just kind of nodded, and she says, you come sit down here with us. I don't remember that girl's face or her name, but I remember her face. And to this day, I wish nothing but blessings on her, because she saw something and she engaged me and made me sit down with her. And then it stopped. She took away their target.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful to her, because I was skinny, little, and you know what? There's not anything you can do when 3 people, because that's the thing is with bullies, that they're basically cowards.
Yeah, they always gang up on
somebody else, and they need to have that audience or their posse to egg them on and to give them their bravery. So if somebody else steps in and breaks down that can stop. And that's the thing, is that person saying, you sit down here with us, meant everything to me.
Right. They had to stop.
To this day.
Wherever you are, we wish blessings.
Wherever you are, 50 years later, or more than 50 years later. Thank you.
This is school.
Because that one gesture that you probably wouldn't even remember saved me that day. Because I was terrified.
Oh yeah, when you're little, I mean, how are you supposed to fight back? And when you have gangs of people. So a lot of times, I mean, even now, I understand what happens. And young people are saying, we don't understand the severity of things. When you have young people who have access to arms,
yes,
and then you have people who are being bullied. Can you imagine the horror of some children when they go to school and they're fearing for their lives? So you have children who are carrying weapons to protect themselves from bullies, because the
adults, and yet if they're found with that weapon, if they're found with the weapon, even if it's a knife or something like that, because they're terrified, and they're found, and then they're punished for having a weapon, and nobody bothers to say,
why are you carrying a weapon?
To carry this, what is going on?
Right. They want to act like it's not happening, and it's horrible. I mean, as bad as it was when we were growing up, it's 10 times worse now, because children have access to guns.
Yeah.
And now you have that whole area of cyberbullying.
Yeah, and that's another whole thing. This is the book I was talking about. Jody Blanco is the author.
Yes, Jody Blanco.
Stop laughing at me. And
my girls got a chance to meet her when she was in town. They were doing the whole Mayor's Readers thing. And she had actually gone back to her 10-year high school reunion. And the kids that she had talked about who had bullied her, none of them even remembered.
That's what happens.
No.
They don't remember. And that's the thing. I mean, you're not the same people that you were back then. And I've had people who bullied me mercilessly as a child. And then you go to a reunion like, hey, girl, how you doing? Just big hugs. They don't even remember that having been the relationship. They honestly don't. So
I think they remember. I think that's a lot of delusional stuff, because people know when they were your friends and they know when they weren't.
You would think. I mean, some people, you know, okay, you know what you did. But as a person, you have to let it go, because if you're holding on to it, okay, all those things as children that we would not do now, we know better. So you do have to accept the fact that they're not that same person.
No,
And
no,
you
they're
can't
not. And
fool-
you're not either. So you
and you're
can't
not
have
either.
their face.
And so when you go to your reunion, you're not the little scared girl anymore, because you know you're accomplished, you're confident. And that's the same thing with this author here. She was, you know, successful and all that, but you still remember.
Mhm.
And you know, if you're able to forgive and let it go, then you can be at peace. But sometimes, you know, you
You're amazed that people don't remember
you're amazed that they
certain
don't
things
remember.
that
Sometimes you're like,
traumatized you, but that's not in their memory.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, and I always say, if you have people who bullied you and they're still in your life, you may need to confront them about it if you still feel bad, just so you can let it go. You know, speak it and then
You
let
need
it
to
go.
be able to say, this is how I remember things, because they may
Yes.
be remembering
They
things
may
totally
not.
different. They may be remembering, for all we know, that it was just a joke or whatever,
Yeah.
and we were actually
Or we
we
were just having
liked you.
fun.
Or maybe it was like I had a guy when I was in high school who used to always snap my bra, and I ran into him at a reunion, and I almost said his name, but I'm not going to say his name, but I got on him about that. He says, you know what? The thing is that I had a big crush on you and you were so smart and I had none of this. And I said, you know what? You are full of, I says, come over here and meet my husband. And then he didn't want to. But it was so funny because sometimes you just have to kind of call these people out on their
That's funny.
nonsense.
But at least you know he had a crush, and he probably was sincere, just dumb, you know.
Oh, please.
But
Nobody had a crush on me back then. No one.
you'd be surprised. I had a crush on so many people going through school. You know, it's funny now because it's like every little funny looking nappy headed boy. But you know, back then, you don't have no sense. So
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah, you know,
People
when
do
I
things-
went to one of my class reunions and this one guy had confessed how he had a crush on me, he sat behind me in a number of our classes. He was really sweet too, and I was just so surprised. He says, "Oh, I used to like couldn't wait, you know, when you came in the class and you were so easy to talk to, and you know, and we're both married, we're both introducing our spouses to each other."
That's funny.
He was so funny saying this. So he says, "Oh, I feel like I'm blubbering now, but but it was sweet, you know." It was really
And you were
nice.
oblivious at the time, right?
You know what? That's what's so funny is that you could have used that ego boost at the
I know.
time.
Yeah.
I felt better, you know. Then I don't need it now. I need
Yes,
it then.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. Next.
We gotta go, you all. We're out of time. Well, of course, if your child is upset about something, you do need to ask them about bullying. And you know, God forbid you find a weapon in their room, you need to you need to ask them why. I mean, I got a whole story about how I was literally going to stab this child who was bullying me, but I won't tell it here. I've told it to my radio audience. I won't tell that story again. But you do have to look at the signs for if your child is distressed or avoiding school or whatever the case may be. If there's signs of bullying, confront it. Don't send them out the house like, oh, you can handle it. Confront it. Make sure the teacher is aware. Make sure the children are aware. One thing our parents did, our mother, mama went to every one of those 6 girls' houses.
I remember.
And told their parents what was happening. You can believe that bullying stopped because it was some behinds that got beat that night.
Yep.
Sometimes
Mama did the same thing when somebody was bullying me. She went to the house.
yes. We
then
got to hold parents accountable. We got to hold these mothers accountable, you know,
Yes.
and fathers. We have to hold the parents accountable when your child is a bully, and that's what will make it stop. So,
Yeah.
you know, don't let it be something your child has to face alone, or you tell them, you know, or just they'll grow out of it. No,
Because they won't.
be an adult and confront it and make it stop. Make it stop. Well, we got to go. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, 3 Black Moms, and our Facebook page. I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
I'm Barbara. We are 3 Black Moms.
Can I tell you the one thing that separates women who have their money handled from women